Good morning. We begin with breaking news. A deadly tornado has ripped through parts of Oklahoma in the Midwest United States. This is what we know so far. At least 37 people have been confirmed dead. 7 children are among those after a school collapsed in the disaster. The death toll is expected to rise, with 30 more children feared dead under the rubble. More than 60 people are injured, at least a dozen children among them. And when the massive twister struck, it was reportedly up to 3 kilometres in size. There are also unconfirmed reports of more fatalities at a hospital and another school that were destroyed. Now, the city of Moore, south of Oklahoma City, was in the direct path of the deadly tornado, with residents and authorities now scrambling to rescue survivors. Local news reporter Bert Mumolo is in Moore right now and joins us via the phone. Bert, we're seeing some incredible footage. Just talk us through the destruction that you can see where you are.
Brett, this is as bad as it gets. This is worst case scenario. You're talking the power of this tornado just literally rips the bark off of trees, makes houses explode, blows them off their foundation. But the most shocking and troubling sight was, in fact, that school, Plaza Tower School, where we arrived maybe a half hour after the tornado struck, and out on the corner of the parking lot were huddled about 12 to 15 kids, kindergarten, second grade, their teachers around them as well. They had blankets around them. Many of them had mud on them. Their teachers were trying to keep them calm as their teachers were trying to keep each other calm. And some of the kids had wounds on them. They were bleeding. And then we met up with a parent who was trying frantically to get to the school, because immediately around the area, the devastation, you're talking some areas, the tornado cut a path of destruction half a mile wide. So just getting there was difficult. We ran into a woman named Jacqueline, who was cradling a toddler in her arms, running in flip-flops trying to get to the school. She had 2 children there. She found one. When that child came up to her, a 5-year-old girl began crying immediately, just out of relief for seeing her mother. And then she said, "I have one. I got to go find my other one." And to find that child, she went around to the rear of the school and found her. That was a 3rd grader, and he had a bump on his head. We asked him what happened. He said they did what they do here in Oklahoma when the tornado comes, which is you're taught to go into the hallway, to put your hands, clasp them around the back of your neck, and crouch down against the wall. That's what you do. And that they did that, and then the wall, he said the school just dropped in on him, and that they were still looking for one of his friends. Firefighters from across the state are converging here now, and there's an effort underway to recover several of the children who are in that building.
We're seeing a figure now, but on our screen, the latest official figure that we have is the death toll has risen to 51. But obviously, from what you're saying, the real concerns are just how many are trapped and are possibly dead inside that school.
And there were parents of the kids, the missing kids, outside of the school, and the police have roped off a line. And there was one gentleman, he was sitting on a stool, and he was talking. He had befriended one of the police officers there, and he said, I'm not leaving. And he was just sitting on a stool, fearing the worst. And quite frankly, at that point, I mean, when you look at this school, it's just demolished, and the steel beams, the brick, it's just a mass of just carnage.
Tell us about this area, because obviously even in Australia we're familiar with tornadoes going through this part of Midwest America, but how does this compare to the sort of destruction you've seen from tornadoes in the past?
Yeah, this is, I would say, a rarity in just the amount of destructive force and the size. Tornadoes, we had some yesterday that broke out, and we were actually covering some of those earlier in the day. And there was one fatality there, but some homes destroyed. But when you see something like this is a rarity. Something of this size and the length that this tornado was going through. Right now, we're trying to drive through town, and we're having difficulty because it cut a path of damage and destruction so long that literally part of the town is kind of cut in half. So you can't get to a certain area, and there's no power in the area. So people are just, and what's also unusual to see is that there's a lot of people just out walking on foot because there's no way to get around.
The images, Bert, are they're heartbreaking and stunning, the sheer scale of it. I know you've got a job to do as a local reporter, but if we can, we'd like to check in with you later just to see what you're hearing, because obviously this is a situation that keeps changing. Not only will the numbers change, but also we'll get a better idea of the scale of what's being done and what needs to be done there. Bert Mumolo in Oklahoma, thank you for your time now. Bert's on the ground in the city of Moore, which was the one that's been hit hardest so far. Now, we're also hearing from the survivors as well, adults and many children, shell-shocked by the sheer force of what could turn out to be one of America's worst tornadoes.
I didn't have a backpack or anything under my head, so my mom just covered me, and the tornado almost got her, so but she just grabbed onto something and kept me safe. My ears just went beep, and I couldn't hear anything except cracking and kids screaming.
It was just debris. There was just cars beat up. My mom was flipping out.
I mean, the scene over there at the school is just catastrophic. I can't even begin to describe the amount of terror that, I was feeling.